Thank you for your interest in our island. Please join us for a virtual tour of all it has to offer. It's easy to leave the hustle and bustle of everyday life behind while you take in our island's incredible scenery. Be sure to stop by this fabulous property. The owner is always happy to show off their decor. This is the best spot to capture a special moment with a photo that you'll treasure forever. So, what do you think? Are you ready to see the sights? We hope to see you soon.
For developers, this is both incredibly freeing, a chance to make it big, without all the encumbrance of a traditional studio, but also supremely precarious. If your Discord account is banned, all of your hard work might disappear. For developers, this is both incredibly freeing. It worked!
Yay, victory!
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I can type that.
Awesome. And I will alert Ro. Yeah, okay, Ro can hear it. Oh, geez. Are we starting right from the top? Cool. Mike, if you have a second, if you can tweet that we are now live.
I'll say an actual intro this time for Animal Crossing.
Yeah.
Before the video plays.
We
so
have
they're
a
not all
video,
confused.
maybe?
Yeah.
Alright,
now that I know it'll
sorry.
actually play and everything. Yeah.
All right, folks. Welcome again to the Launcher live stream, our second stream in general, and also our second stream today, our second intro to this stream today. We're so glad you're here. My name is MIKHAIL KLIMENTOV. I'm an editor at Launcher, the Washington Post's esports and video games vertical. With me, I have two reporters and an editor. I'll let them introduce themselves. Elise, why don't you say hello?
Hi. Yeah. I'm ELISE FAVIS. I'm a reporter for Launcher. And I've been here for a year and a half, pretty much ever since we started. I do a lot of features and news and reviews. And one of my favorite games is Mass Effect 2.
Great. Mike Hume, why don't you say hello?
Hey, I'm Mike. I'm the editor of Launcher. Excited to be spending some time with y'all. Going to talk a little bit about some Animal Crossing today, some Warzone. We got a good show lined up. Looking forward to it.
That's so true. And last but not least, Shannon, say hello.
Hey everyone, thanks for having me. I'm Shannon Lau. I just joined the Launcher team as a reporter in February, so I've been here for exactly a month now, and I'm really excited to play some games.
Rad. And that's a great segue. Thank you to everyone in the chat for waiting. Hello to Nick Shiner. Hello to Ro. Today we're going to be talking about... Exactly. As we decided last week, the launch crew.
It was not launch chairs in the end?
It was not lawn chairs. It was not launchies. We unfortunately, I think, landed on launch crew, but launchies perseveres in my heart. Today, we're going to be talking about Animal Crossing, new features, a year of Animal Crossing, all of the reporting we've done on it, including a recent feature by Shannon. We're going to be talking about new Pokemon Snap, which, Shannon, I believe you had some time to at least observe from afar, which is very in spirit of the game. We're going to talk about GameStop as well. We're going to talk about the games we're playing right now. And at the very end, we're going to play a bit of Jackbox. So, Elise, I want to throw it to you right now. You took advantage of a new feature, if I have this right. I have not played Animal Crossing in months. You took advantage of a new feature called the Tour Creator. Is that right?
Yeah, the Island Tour Creator. So it's not an in-game feature in Animal Crossing. It's actually a website that Nintendo launched yesterday, where you can use photos or videos from your Animal Crossing island and basically make custom-made
Okay. And I think we have a video of your created tour, the tour you created in the Tour Creator. Yeah, let's take a look at that. Let's see what your island looks like. I think that's going to appear on the stream right about now.
Thank you for your interest in our island. Please join us for a virtual tour of all it has to offer. It's easy to leave the hustle and bustle of everyday life behind while you take in our island's incredible scenery. Be sure to stop by this fabulous property. The owner is always happy to show off their decor. This is the best spot to capture a special moment with a photo that you'll treasure forever. So, what do you think? Are you ready to see the sights? We hope to.
All right, so that was a great tour of your island, including a skeleton concert. Elise, I'm curious because I saw clowns, I saw Halloween material. When was the last time you were really earnestly, deeply invested in Animal Crossing? Uh-oh. Have we lost Elise, who is about to tell us such a good thing about her island?
Critical to the operation here.
I am repeating the things that are going into my ear from Elise. Oh, hi, Brian. Brian says hello to Mike and Shannon.
Oh my gosh, hi, Brian.
What's up, Brian?
We're getting confirmation that Elise's audio is not working. But I can
You can interpret.
divinate.
Yes.
I will divinate Elise's comments. The island, I'm getting the signal. Getting notes of Halloween. Elise seems to like Halloween, so Halloween is ever present on her island.
I love
there's
clowns.
anything more.
Very controversial opinion. Oh, hello.
Elise says she loves clowns. Oh, okay, wait. Elise is back.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh,
so
thank God.
I'm gonna describe my island, which you just saw in a video that I made with the island tour creator. So basically, I was just saying that the reason why there are clown themed things and carnivals, and also Halloween themed stuff, is because those are two of my favorite things. And so Pietro is my favorite villager. He's a clown. So I have a very special place for him. He has his own cliff and everything, and it's all clown themed. And of course, I have a skeleton concert, which is just perfect for my forever Halloween island. And it's called Rook because Far Cry 3 is one of my favorite games, and Rook Islands is the setting.
Can we talk about the clowns for a second, though? I mean, like, people probably don't know this because they haven't seen your desk. Heck, we haven't seen your desk in over a year. But the thing that freaks me out the most is the clown on your desk. I don't know. Tell me about the clown thing, because I terrifies me.
Yeah, so that's Warren. His name is Warren, which in Dutch means why, because when you look at his face, you're like, why?
Yeah.
Sure.
The story behind him is my best friend and I went to Britain, or we went to Europe and we went to Britain. And this was like 5 years ago, and she dared me to buy him at this like secondhand shop, basically. He cost £3. He is forever 7 years old. And he was stuck in the Washington Post offices for a very long time until our video editor, John, graciously saved him for me.
Ooh, rescue mission. Nice. Yeah, no, nice island, though. I felt like I was being, advertised a timeshare or something. Has a nice timeshare vibe to it. But yeah, good stuff.
What?
Yeah,
What
yeah.
kinds of timeshares are you looking at, Mike, that even in passing resemble the clown
It was the-
skeleton
It was
island.
the tone of the voice, the advertiser, not so much the skeleton concert.
Okay.
Got it.
That is
I actually-
more understandable.
Look,
The clear
Elise
sense.
has a thing for clowns. I got skeleton concerts at timeshares. That's how I roll, man. Don't judge me.
Sure, fair enough. The reason I asked about the kind of time you had spent with and away from Animal Crossing is because Shannon just wrote a feature for us that ran on, golly, Friday, I believe, about people who have spent, hundreds of, well, Shannon can get into the exact hours, but tons and tons and tons of hours in Animal Crossing who are ride or die Animal Crossing. Tell us a bit about the islands you saw in your reporting, Shannon.
Yeah, definitely. So Elise actually helped me out there because she visited a lot of these islands and recorded footage. So did our video producer John. He also dressed up, took his time to get a custom outfit for each island that he was. But so all of us got to kind of see these islands. There, people have spent 400 to 2,000, over 2,000 hours building them out. Oftentimes, it's not just like they sank 2,000 hours in one island. It could be that they have another Nintendo Switch and they have another island, or they've flattened their island over and over and remade it to different themes like Christmas or Halloween, whatever is the latest season. So people have put in so much effort, and the versions that we got to see aren't even like reflective of all the time they've spent just using this game to comfort them through the pandemic, especially when they were staying home so much. They really got to just build out their fantasies, like terraform all the grass and, I don't know, make these like waterfall structures that don't exist in real life. So I was really impressed with the 5 people I spoke to, but there are like even more islands that I didn't get to see that are out there that I couldn't include in the story for sake of time. But just knowing that like these people persevered playing the game, because I played it for a few months and then I just dropped off, and I came back every once in a while for an event. But there are some people who have continued playing relentlessly, and then even have told me that they were burnt out and tired of playing the game, but then they still came back because they were streaming it for Twitch or because they, were attracted to more content and they're just coming back. So yeah, I was really, really impressed.
I think one of the favorite islands I got to see was the Forever Winter one, where like the chill, I think it was called Chill Hill was the island. And it's always winter on the island because the user who made it actually time travels all the way back to the beginning of winter once he gets to the end of the season. So yeah, it's always winter on that island, and it's lovely. Like it's like a winter wonderland. So much detail everywhere. It's crazy. I mean, I think I have about 200, I want to say 240 or 250 hours in Animal Crossing, which is significant, but like I dropped off a lot in the last like several, maybe like 4 or 5 months. I've barely played, and I've moved on to other things. But like I think during the first half of the pandemic, like a lot of people, Animal Crossing was huge, and it's so important to me.
Yeah, I think a lot of us kind of fall in that same category of spending time in the game and then bouncing off of it a tiny bit. And I'm curious, Shannon, in your reporting, if there was a consistent theme amongst the people you talked to about why they kept playing Animal Crossing. Because for me, like at a certain point, like I just got everything I could have gotten out of the game. And so I'm just curious about like what compels somebody to put, thousands of hours into Animal Crossing.
Yeah, some of the people I spoke to, they put, hundreds of hours or thousands, and then they, like I mentioned, got tired and did something else, but eventually came back. It's because the way they described it is that Nintendo, wasn't updating the game very much in the beginning and wasn't really treating it as a real life service. But later on, they added like swimming, dreaming. You can visit people's dream islands now. There was like a July 4th patch. There was for swimming, and there was also like Christmas and Halloween content, Thanksgiving. So with those additions, that's what drove people to come back, because they're like, okay, finally there's more content. Like just as I was writing the story, Nintendo announced that there would be, I think, 50 custom design slots that you can get now. And you started off the game with 5 custom design slots, and those are used for, like designing the grass to look different or making like a road sign. And now you have 50 of them, which is like 10 times as much. So one of my friends that I interviewed in the story, she's definitely going to use that feature to just like be more creative and ingenious with her island for sure. So those are the kinds of things that brought people back. Otherwise, I think they would be kind of like us, like given up already by now.
Yeah. For me,
I have one question. Like, does everybody here think that most people that Animal Crossing is the game most people will associate with the pandemic and the spike in video games?
Yeah. 100%.
Ooh, alternative take coming, MIKHAIL?
I talked about this with a friend recently, and I kind of think that in as much as Animal Crossing occupied a lot of mental space for people, especially at the start of quarantine, I think the game that people are actually going to associate with the lockdown, and this we get into like demographic questions here, but I do think it might actually be Warzone, weirdly enough. And I know we want to talk about that a bit later, but Call of Duty was like 2 Call of Duty games were the best-selling games of last year, and virtually every single list I've seen of like games that helped us get through the pandemic, or the New York Times published a list last year that was like, here are our games of 2020. And there are a lot of anecdotes that they follow roughly the same structure. It is me and my friends like didn't have the opportunities to hang out very much anymore. Some of my friends were not gamers, but I was able to coerce them into playing this, free game. It was the only game they played, and we all chatted and we played this together. I think the freeness has a lot to do with it. I think the fact that just like the franchise as a whole is extremely popular and is accessible across like multiple platforms as opposed to just the Switch.
That's the other key, I think.
Yeah, I think like the Animal Crossing is like the game that everybody talked about as being the game of the pandemic when everything started. And now looking back, given a lot of the like fatigue that we've described having with the game, I don't know. I weirdly, I suspect it'll actually be something a lot less interesting. Not as like a value judgment or anything, but just like it's not going to be Animal Crossing, which is this like cool, quirky, fun little game. It is going to be the like behemoth Warzone.
Like Animal Crossing is a behemoth as well in a way. It's just a different kind of behemoth and a different kind of audience. I think like Call of Duty and Animal Crossing are very much extreme opposites. So, and I feel like it's so individual. Like every individual is going to say something different, but I think like regardless of like what game is the game of the pandemic, I think we can at least say Animal Crossing was one of them.
For sure. And the other thing that I think too is Animal Crossing has so many unique stories about it that we were hearing about it more in media outlets. Like you were having weddings in Animal Crossing, you were having graduations. It was a very versatile and adaptive platform to simulate and replicate some real world events. I mean, obviously you weren't holding a wedding in Warzone. If you were, please let me know because I want to write the story. But most people, I'm assuming, are not. We did hear about somebody getting married at a Taco Bell yesterday, though. So, I mean, anything's possible. You never know. To each their own. But I think just the variety of stories that you would hear about Animal Crossing and the way people were enjoying that game in completely unique and original fashion had a lot to do with that too.
Yeah, this is. I have a kind of floaty question for Shannon based on her reporting. Were the people you were talking to playing the game, did any of their kind of answers to why Animal Crossing involve like, I can replicate what is a roughly normal non-pandemic, non-quarantine daily schedule? Did that factor into the thinking at all?
So the people that I spoke to for this article didn't say anything like that. They were just really happy to like talk to villagers, like plant their garden. But last year I did a story talking to people who don't consider themselves gamers necessarily. They don't use that term to describe themselves, but Animal Crossing got them into gaming, which is something I don't think you would see. I mean, I guess you just mentioned it with Warzone, but I feel like a lot of my friends wouldn't play Warzone. Anyway, so there was one woman I spoke to, I think in Chicago, where she was like, I really hope this vacation I'm having in Animal Crossing reflects my life after the pandemic, where I can go swimming and I can see the water and the beach and breathe some fresh air. So if anything, it's like a little vacation away from your daily life that you would be having, at work if the pandemic didn't exist, or at home during the pandemic. It's this like vacation resort.
It gave me structure actually. When like during a time where we lost all structure, I was like, okay, every day I can, open up my island, just do all these different tasks, and then like I honestly remembered what day of the week it was because some days I would buy turnips. Like it was
That's
because of
awesome.
Animal Crossing.
Yeah, I completely see that. Mike, by the way, Jackson Wilk in the chat says Mike.
Jackson Wilk.
Yeah, just passing that along. I think that's all on Animal Crossing. I am curious now to learn about new Pokemon Snap. Shannon, you spent some time watching somebody else playing new Pokemon Snap. Give me a sense of actually, I guess first things first, I am going to act as the stand-in for the audience here. I have no conception of what Pokemon Snap is and how it works. I missed Pokemon Snap completely. Tell me what Pokemon Snap is, and tell me why I should be excited for new Pokemon Snap, if I should be excited.
Yeah, the original Pokemon Snap, if I remember correctly, came out in 1999 on the N64, and you can still watch like YouTube videos of it, which is what I was trying to do because I was trying to play it on an emulator, and then I downloaded a bunch of viruses to my computer, and I was like, okay, I can't do this. And I also tried to buy it, but it was, right now all the old retro tech is really expensive. So the old original Pokemon Snap is you walk around, trying to take a photo of Pokemon, and the graphics are, it's a 1999, you can imagine, very terrible. The sound effects also pretty questionable. And you also throw, I think you throw balls, or you kind of like pester balls to kind of attract Pokemon towards you, and then you can take photos with them. And in the new Pokemon Snap, the graphics look amazing. It's really upgraded to 2021, and you not only, I don't think you throw pester balls. I'm trying to get a real answer if those exist or not. But as far as I could see, you throw a fruit, which is not an apple, but it looks just like an apple. and you throw them at the Pokemon to attract them as well and get different reactions. And your goal is basically to take photos of Pokemon as you walk around and like on a beach or maybe in a forest and kind of interact with them in this environment. And you want them to have creative reactions looking at other Pokemon, and you get star ratings based on how unique the reaction is. And then you collect your photos and you go to the professor and you're like, hey, can you give me a rating? And then he starts to like rate all your photos and say, nice work, good job, go out there, go explore some more. So that's the basic premise of the game.
Okay, that is, you hit on a thing I was going to ask about, which is like, what is the end game? How are you graded on these photos? Like, what do you get out of taking these pictures? And I think now it's starting to add up for me. What is, based on what you saw, what is new about new Pokemon Snap? Why is this happening? Why is this coming out?
Yeah, well, the biggest difference is the 21-year gap in technology, so the upgrade and graphics and everything. I was asking if you could video record Pokemon now. That's not a thing. It's just photos still. but you get to see like new generation of Pokemon that weren't around in 1999. You also see old ones like Pikachu, Squirtle, and then at the same time, it has a night mode now. So before in the previous game, you just only have daytime. So the night mode is better graphics. I'm assuming like if there was night mode in 1999, you wouldn't be able to see anything. It would just be pitch black. So that's the real upgrade. And then there's also something called Illumina orbs, which I don't know too much about, but it's been teased in trailers.
So with night mode, you can get Pikachu after dark now. Is that the catch? Like,
Come on, Mike.
Be here all night. I'll be here all night.
I don't even know what else there is to say about Pokemon Snap because I just simply don't know anything about it. It's a complete I know that the thing is I know that there's a lot of nostalgia for Pokemon Snap. I can't participate in that nostalgia. I just don't have it. Elise, Mike, have either of you played Pokemon Snap?
I didn't play the original. I know enough about it, but I've never actually sat down and played it.
Yeah,
Mike, this is my chance. This is my chance.
Yeah, exactly.
That's exactly right.
No, a Pokemon really got big after I'd sort of aged out, I thought. But I was probably the previous generation as far as like video gaming and kid stuff. Gene is probably the one to ask about it.
Yeah,
and John, actually, if we can channel the ghost of John Elker, I believe we might be able to get some insights as to why there is so much excitement around it. But you might have to use your crystal ball again.
Yeah, let me see if I can divine an answer from John, our video guy, about why new Pokemon Snap is so important. Let's see if I get anything.
Well, hello.
MIKHAIL the medium.
I don't know if the stream can hear me right now. According to my readings, you should be able to hear me. I'm the video guy behind the scenes. So yeah, Pokemon Snap is really exciting because it's essentially a game that people have been asking for a sequel and a remake for a very long time now. And a lot of people thought that the Wii U was such a great marriage with the concept of the game at first, because you're taking basically the panel and that could act as your camera as you like literally just swing around your living room / your environment taking pictures of Pokemon. And the cool part about the game overall is that it gives an insight to Pokemon's ecosystems and living situations that other games don't really consider or take into account. And I think a lot of people just really like the creativity behind that. New Pokemon Snap also in general is kind of it's exciting for two reasons. One is that A, they're going back to the basics, it looks like, with this, and two, basically there's now, from the previous game, there's only 150 Pokemon that you could take pictures of, right? Now there's, 800 plus that you could take, so the possibilities are endless, and I think that's what people are really excited about.
So, this is kind of a dumb question, but like in new Pokemon Snap, do they take any influence from, I don't know, like modern platforms like Snapchat or Instagram? Like, is there any sort of weird implementation from that to modernize it or anything?
Yeah, I am not too sure if there are going to be some interesting Easter eggs as I start playing the game. But my first impression of it was like it reminded me of Google Lens, which is this like tech feature where you can use I think it's like AI will tell you what you're looking at after you take a photo of something. So it does, like, you do go around taking photos of Pokemon and then the game recognized what kind of Pokemon they are, but it's also because the developers created it. So yeah, they have to know, right? But it was funny to see the reactions of Pokemon. Like when you hit them on the head with not apple, they do like stare at you and kind of glare at you like, how dare you? So those are pretty funny.
Yeah, that seemed like the sort of ecosystem watching Pokemon in their natural habitat thing seems like the sort of thing fans were looking for in like Sword and Shield, where the live areas, the wild areas, that's what they were called. And then a lot of fans were also not happy to see that wasn't in there. So I can see why the return of Pokemon Snap would be welcome to Pokemon fans. Who I otherwise don't understand very well. Cool. Now, moving on to... Oh, go ahead, Shannon.
I think it was John.
No, I completely agree. Sorry if I'm lagging. But
Yeah.
I heard from people too that the wild area. Like I played Sword and Shield. It's the best part, the most interactive part, and the rest of it's like this generic going around battling. But at the same time, it's the wild area is only the small portion of the game. So I did hear a lot of people hoping that Pokemon Snap will fulfill that part of the game for them and be the game that they were hoping for.
Yeah. And I mean, there's the announced Pokemon Legends Arceus or Arceus that I think hits on that same note of expanding on the idea of the wild areas. There were a lot of comparisons made to Breath of the Wild. I think there are some hints in that initial kind of teaser trailer of Pokemon just kind of being normal out in the woods and whatnot. So it does seem like that Pokemon fans' dream of living in a world in which these kind of ecosystems are interacting, that might be closer, or at least that Game Freak is attuned to the demands of fans. So that
Yeah,
makes sense.
yeah. I actually got to interview Pokemon Company on that question and asked them if, like, RCS is being made by Game Freak as well. Will it take any lessons from like player feedback on Sword and Shield, kind of like the angrier fans too, and what they had to say? And the response I got back was like, yeah, they will try to listen, but we'll have to see like if that feedback was really implemented once the game is open to review copies.
Yeah, it's weird. You can never really, or I guess we don't have great insight. I can't think of from any company that has like really. What I'm getting at is we don't know whether companies listen to their angriest fans or not. Because I can see a situation in which, like, of course, these fans are angry. We want to placate them as much as possible. And then there's the other world in which, like, okay, they're being irrational. We know what the inner workings are. We are going to do this the way we want. And it's interesting that you got some insight from the Pokemon Company on their thinking. Even if, like, of course, I can't imagine that they can be as blunt about that question as they might want to be. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, we have to find out.
Yeah, we'll learn eventually. We'll learn eventually. Cool. Jumping over to GameStop. Shannon, you listened in on the GameStop earnings recently. As I understand this story, there was God, it's like trying to recap the GameStop situation at this point feels it feels like it was like half a year ago at least. I will throw Shannon, you were on this call recently, so I'm gonna throw to you to explain the GameStop situation before we jump into kind of what was on the earnings call. Can you give us like a 2 to 3 sentence summary of the situation? Because
okay,
it doesn't have to be. It doesn't
That'd
have to
be
be
a good
2 to
editing
3.
job.
okay. Yeah, I mean, I was following this situation over when I was at CNN Business, and they really covered every aspect of this from the business angle. So what I saw was, the stock price of GameStop started to rose above $350, rose to $400, and what was going on behind that, because this stock used to be, I don't know, like a $10 stock, $50 stock. And the reason why it rose so much is because people on Reddit and the subreddit called Wall Street Bets were like, oh, we should, buy a lot of GameStop stock because hedge funds are trying to bet against GameStop stock. They think that, the stock price is going to go down. They're trying to put money in, betting against it, and we're going to bet for it, and we're going to mess up their bets and cause them to lose lots of money by purchasing so much of the stock that it inflates the price. So they pulled that off. The stock price went crazy. You got stories of people, I don't know, becoming really rich or being able to quit their day job because of how much they profited from these stocks. You also got stories from people who didn't sell in time, and then the stock price started dipping down, and they were going through a lot of financial hardship as a result. And then for a while, the stock price was like pretty low, and it rose back up to 200 recently. it's been like floating around there. And at the earnings call, GameStop's executives did not address any of this. And they were just like, hey, our sales were down a little bit last year because of COVID. No questions. That's the end of the matter. That's
nothing to see here. Move along.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does sort of feel like my guess is that they want to avoid regulatory scrutiny. Some of what I've seen written about the situation suggests that, like, if GameStop were to take advantage of its kind of inflated stock price, and the SEC could say, like, yes, this is of course like an obviously inflated stock price, it would be kind of helpful for them to take advantage of that price, but it could be considered securities fraud, which would be very bad for them. All to say, yeah, they do not really want to address this situation whatsoever in any form, and the earnings call was not a deviation from that strategy, I guess.
Yeah, that's the other thing I forgot to mention is that, all of this has drawn legal scrutiny and regulatory scrutiny from government, which is also looking into not just the Redditors, but also looking into, apps like Robinhood, which terminated trading of the stock for a while and then resumed trading. And people were very furious saying, like, Robinhood stopping trading, is that because, they're for the hedge funds and they don't want us to buy the stock? But then Robinhood came out with their statement saying it's not because of that. It's because they actually were not able to fund all these trades. So there's a lot of other side stories along with the main narrative, and it's still unfolding as we talk.
Yeah. I think those branching narratives are honestly really fascinating. There is, before this whole GameStop situation, there's a Massachusetts investigation looking into Robinhood. And the core complaint of that investigation was that, first of all, Robinhood was onboarding people who didn't know how to trade and were, like, poised to make illogical, like, poorly thought out trades. In that filing, you can see tons of examples of, like, people with no trading experience who mark themselves as having no trading experience executing like tens of trades a day, which is bonkers. And at the same time, the underlying logic of that filing is like, we want the people of Massachusetts to get in on the stock market. A part of that complaint is that Robinhood was down and that you couldn't do trades at a certain time. And so there are these weird kind of cross trends, I would say, of complaints from the past of Robinhood not informing their customers enough. And then after the GameStop situation, it's like, why did you halt trading on this stock that we also think is inflated, we also think is a bad deal, we don't think people should get in on? It's kind of funny how those things are all crisscrossing right now, but it's a very complicated situation.
Yeah. At the same time, oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, my one takeaway too is that as somebody who's not very business savvy and does not follow the stock market closely, I think there's a misconception by some people that because the stock price is soaring relative to what it was, that GameStop has suddenly turned it around and has risen like a phoenix from the ashes, and suddenly brick and mortar stores are back in vogue. And that is not at all the correct takeaway. This is very independent of that, and there's a lot of turnover at the top levels of GameStop that we're still seeing that would sort of encourage more questions about what the future holds for that company.
So I think you're right, and I think there's also a way in which I wonder how right you are. The turnover thing is absolutely true. Just today or the other day, we learned that Reggie Fils-Aimé, the former president of Nintendo America, is leaving GameStop's board after, what was it, just about a year of being on the board?
I think it was less than a year.
Yeah, probably less.
Yeah, about, I think it was like late 2019 that he went aboard.
That's
anyway, not very
launcher. That's all I remember.
Not
So,
terribly long.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was early 2020 or late 2019.
But oh, go ahead, Shannon.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say people are jumping ship because they don't really know what to make of it. Is also they're not addressing it. They just don't. They're just like leaving it, kind of open ended. And
Yeah.
yeah, I kind of have to talk
Yeah.
about how it's like gamers behind this whole thing. Like gamers were behind the stock price inflation, partly like out of, as they were saying on Reddit, because they were angry that hedge funds are betting against GameStop as a failing retailer, but also it would be funny as a joke to get GameStop, which is a failing retailer, which some gamers don't even like, to rise back up on top. So it became this meme, which Bloomberg also covered, and that is the reason for increasing the stock price, and not because GameStop and AMC or these other Bed Bath and Beyond are a comeback or something, and that's not true.
There's definitely an element of just kind of like nihilistic humor to the whole thing. I don't even know. I don't even know that most of the people on Wall Street bet are like gamers necessarily. It is just the idea of a brick and mortar store, mostly based in malls, like a level of failure on top of a layer of failure, and then just boosting the stock price. The conflict there, the thing that is kind of amusing is that the underlying case, the thing that sparked this whole thing is I'm blanking on the guy's name now, but it was a Redditor who had a fundamentals case for GameStop. And the fundamentals case is, he looked at the business and said, this could be a thriving business. They have a lot of subscribers in their points system or whatever. They just got new management that has turned around another, not turned around, but has done a great job with other e-commerce businesses. And the case was that if GameStop leveraged its competitive advantages, it could actually like turn a profit in the long term, become a stock that was valuable. And so it made sense to get in on the ground floor when it was like a $4 stock, because 10 years down the line, 20 years down the line, it would actually be a valuable thing. And then 90%, I would say, just as an estimate, 90% of the people who hopped onto GameStop after the fact were mostly in it for the laugh, and not out of any idea or belief that GameStop was going to be a successful retailer at some point in the future. So
yeah,
a lot of weird factors there.
Yeah, there's a lot of things in GameStop's business that were already failing. Like in 2019, I talked to their CEO, and he was like, closing brick and mortar stores for GameStop is part of the business every year, and like that is just something that has to happen for retail to survive. So it wasn't even like talking about trying to find a way to keep all these stores functioning, but just sort of like minimizing the amount of stores every year, and also thinking about starting like an esports tournament inside GameStop was one idea he had, or betting on 5G, or he was just thinking about like using merchandise and plushies and Funko Pops to fund the business and keep it going. So at that time already, it wasn't doing so well, and the pandemic hit, and the stores.
Sorry, it's just, I mean. Yeah, because they had all these like experimental ideas, right, that they were going to do with their stores. They were going much more, like you said, you were bringing up Funko Pops and stuff, like selling more collectors items, and also just making a space for gamers to like come and hang out and play games. Which personally, I would not go to a GameStop to hang out, but I also have other reasons for that. Anyway, but yes. They could never have, no one could have known that the pandemic would hit. So that is absolutely the worst case scenario for a retail company that was already suffering a lot.
Yeah. And then like it was so bad for them even last year that they were trying to stay open. Like management was making the stores stay open and trying to claim that GameStop is an essential business, and was saying, we sell mice and keyboards and headsets, so we should stay open. And I actually spoke to some of these employees anonymously, and also some of them giving their real names, saying that why would you buy a gaming headset or an extra $50 mouse when you can go to Walmart or Best Buy?
Yeah.
And those are actually essential businesses. So that whole thing happened for a while, and eventually the police caught on and closed the stores down. And then we fast forward to today, where we have all the stock news.
It does feel like there's a reputational problem, because one of the things I wanted to mention earlier when Mike brought up kind of brick and mortar is that the stats for brick and mortar are not actually that bad. If you look at the breakdown of commerce, I think e-commerce makes up like a low double digits of like slice of the pie of people making purchases. E-commerce makes a very small percentage of that, like 14%.
Even in 2020?
Yes, and it hasn't gone up that much in 2020. Like before, it was in the low double digits. Now it's in the low double digits. Like there are still brick and mortar businesses that are doing just fine, that are like very strong, that could not be brick and mortar businesses at this point. And a lot of people still do the bulk of their shopping not online. One of the issues with GameStop in my mind is that, like, I don't view GameStop positively. And this gets back to like the Redditors in some respect. I don't think there are that many people who have profound positive feelings about GameStop, its business, spending time in a GameStop. If GameStop was this institution for which people had a lot of nostalgia, if the like trade-in deals were better, if not the return policy, but if you could sell back your games for better prices, if you could sell back your consoles for better prices, if there was like not a cascade of problem after problem after problem that gamers have identified with GameStop, with dealing with GameStop, then there's a possibility that, like, if you open up GameStop as a place that players can go to, I don't know, play co-op games together, hold esports tournaments, turn them into like the little boutique tabletop stores, but for video games. Like, you could totally do that if GameStop had a stronger or like more favorable reputation. But it does not have that reputation for me. I'm curious if anyone else on the call has any positive associations with GameStop.
I love GameStop. I would walk by and try to go to a store. I mean, it's closed down here for me, so I can't go to the store. But it's closed down in other neighborhoods too, and so it's pretty rare that I can actually walk in that. But I think it's part of the nostalgia. Like I lost Barnes and Nobles in this neighborhood already. That really hurts. Borders is bankrupt, shut down. We don't have Blockbuster anymore. It's part of like this nostalgic series of brands that if they really were to disappear, I'd feel kind of sad. But I don't know. If there's a lot, like, even though people don't like GameStop, if it was really gone, I'm sure there'd be a lot of obituaries. And
do you think that's... Oh, go ahead, Elise.
I was just gonna say, I grew up in Canada, and GameStop existed in Canada, but it had a different name. So up there, it's EB Games.
Oh, we had EB Games too.
Yeah.
Oh, do you? Okay.
I don't know why that's the case, but yeah, we also had EB Games.
Yeah. But I do have like some positive memories when I was younger, like going to midnight launches at EB Games. For like, I did that for several Assassin's Creed games. But I mean, as someone who also later on went to work for Game Informer, which is a magazine owned by GameStop and was then laid off by GameStop, I'm forever going to not like GameStop, I think. So, but that's just me.
Yeah, part of the question for me is like, when you think back on GameStop or EB Games fondly, does that have to do with just like the physicality of games, of like going to the store and like, here's a store for you, it has games in it? Or is it something about the GameStop brand in particular? Because I can understand the former of like, oh, I loved like going to a store as a kid and seeing games, like holding the package. I don't know if that carries over to like the brand GameStop.
Yeah, for me, I don't think back as like, oh my god, I got Assassin's Creed 2 at GameStop, you know, at midnight. It's more like, oh my god, I got Assassin's Creed 2 at midnight. I had it, like, I remember holding that in my hands in the car on the way home and being like so excited that I was finally going to get to play this game that I had been waiting forever for.
Yeah.
So it's really it could have been Best Buy, it could have been, you know, Walmart. It wouldn't have really mattered, I don't think, what store it was. It's just more of like, I got to get it exactly at midnight, which was exciting as a kid. So
yeah, and now you get to pre-download it on your console or PC and have it ready as soon as they let it they release it. So I think the user experience has just changed so dramatically with online stuff that those experiences don't really register anymore for a lot of people, I don't think.
This is a bit of a weird thought. I also have like, I really loved Barnes and Nobles and Borders as a kid. Like they were a lot of fun to go to, but there is something more, I don't want to say upscale about both of those stores because they are just like ultimately brick and mortar retailers, but there was something kind of like more refined about the vibe of going into a Barnes and Nobles or a Borders.
Yeah.
And that is not the case for GameStop, which I associate with like kind of grubby physical packaging, like Funko Pops at this point, like things not being in the right place, having to search for stuff. Like it is just a bit more of a messy vibe. And I'm wondering if, like back when I was growing up in the mid to late 90s, having that vibe in a GameStop, having the GameStop brand made sense in the context of who GameStop must have assumed its core audience was. And now that is not the case. Like the idea of who a gamer is very broad, is very expansive, is kind of more welcoming. I'm wondering if GameStop had always had a brand that was closer to Borders, that was closer to Barnes and Nobles, that was less sweaty, for lack of another term, would people feel a bit more nostalgic about their GameStop experience?
Yeah. I think I've seen, you know, like so Barnes and Nobles, they would have like benches and they would give you a little space for like children to play, and which GameStop didn't have, and all the different stores I've been to are smaller, and it's also pretty dark, and it gives you this Radio Shack vibe, and Radio Shack is also closed down and not here anymore.
Yes.
It looks almost like Radio Shack, so I feel like you're, you know, a tech enthusiast that's going to Radio Shack getting your headphones, and then you're going to GameStop to pick up your games. Like maybe the two of them had such similar branding because the two companies are like, this is the audience. So I think you're right there that if it looked prettier, maybe we would like it. But I have seen like other people remember it fondly and be like, oh, I worked there as a child. Or not as a child, as a teenager. And
now they're exploiting children. This is this company.
No. Yeah, so as a teenager, and like I can recall those memories, and so I've seen people like have their personal essays and takes. I think it's just our particular group maybe didn't have those memories.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Moving on, let's chat quickly just about what we're playing right now. Mike, I know you have some thoughts about Warzone. What's going on in the world of Warzone?
Nothing is the answer, which is disappointing to most Warzone enthusiasts like myself. I mean, the biggest problem right now is it's not really a valid complaint about the game. It's just it especially given the pandemic reality. Like obviously, there's been setbacks to every game out there, particularly live service games. That it's a hindrance to creating new content and rolling things out on the roadmaps that people envisioned probably a year plus ago when Warzone debuted. But it's sort of stagnated. The main mode right now, they introduced zombies with the latest season update, and now they're sort of roving in a pack that's just going from a different point of interest from one to the next without any sort of coherent underlying story that I can discern or I've seen discerned on Reddit. it's just sort of like it feels like they're buying time until the new map comes out, which is understandable, but it's also just sort of like the experience is sort of meh right now. The Cold War merger was pretty messy, which we wrote about on Launcher, and I don't think that went over particularly well. It introduced a number of bugs they've gotten better about resolving some of that. But right now, when I play, and I play pretty regularly, I really prefer to play the Rebirth Island Resurgence mode. It just feels a lot better when you can respawn up to 5 times or so per game, get back into it quicker, rather than slogging through a half-hour round and then getting killed by some dude with wall hacks at the end of it, which is just like enraging. So not the best experience, but they are trying to get some of the cheats out of the game, which is good. I think that should be even more than a new map or anything like that. That should be priority number one, because it really takes a lot of the enjoyment out when you play something for a half hour around and then get to the end, and then somebody's either like using some sort of glitch to stay alive in the storm, on the other side of the map, or has wall hacks or is turned invisible. That was another fun glitch that people were experiencing. So hopefully they get some of that stuff remedied, and it would be nice to see a new or radically altered map sometime in the not too distant future here.
It's funny that the evolution of Warzone's Battle Royale is slowly just coming closer to standard deathmatch.
Yeah.
That's an amusing twist that I wouldn't have anticipated a couple of years out, but
yeah,
it was fun.
Especially since the first iteration of it was like the biggest Battle Royale, the biggest map, 150 players. Yeah. And initially, I think it was initially supposed to be 200, and they scaled it back a little bit. But it is interesting. And I think how it has iterated on itself, and how much enjoyment I'm just getting out of that mode now. I don't know. I think it's a balance. I do like the longer form mode too, but I want a little bit something new vibe for Verdansk, and not zombies ever.
Makes sense. Yeah, I might play some Warzone tonight. It's been a minute. That game is fun.
Yeah, I'll be on. You know it.
Awesome. Elise, Shannon, are either of you playing anything cool these days or interesting? Or maybe uncool? I don't know.
What lame games are you playing?
I want to go first.
I can go first. I'm not playing any like new or noteworthy game, really. I've been wanting to play Loop Hero. I want to try that out because everybody is talking about it. But I'm just playing comfort games right now, which are horror games for me, which is a weird thing. But it's gotten to the point where so Phasmophobia is a game where you are a ghost hunter basically, and you play with friends. It like the ambience in that game is actually it could put me to sleep at this point. I find it very calming. So I play that every few nights. I play The Forest, which is also a horror game, but I've been playing that in peaceful mode with friends. So basically the forest, it drops you into a forest, and there are cannibals about, and they will come and try to kill you and eat you. But anyway, in peaceful mode, there are no cannibals, and you can just build a log house in the forest. It feels like multiplayer The Sims. I don't know if it's meant to be played that way, but that is absolutely what my friends and I have made it to be. So I enjoy it. It's very zen.
The Sims with cannibals. That is
yeah.
That's an aesthetic.
How much of a threat are the cannibals if you are able to just kind of vibe to them?
Oh man. So in peaceful mode there are no cannibals, so that's what we're playing right now.
Got it.
But in normal mode, which we did for a while and tried to build a lot as well. So we were building a tree house, for example, and these cannibals can come in, there could be an army of cannibals. There could be 8 at once, and they can be quite strong. There's mutants as well, and they'll have 8 arms and 2 heads and whatever. There's one that literally has sumo wrestling moves. Anyway, so yeah, we were up in our treehouse, and I think 10 cannibals showed up, and our entire treehouse, while we were inside it, crumbled to the ground, and we were all screaming and trying to run away. And I think one of us died.
Oh.
Pour one out.
I can understand a transition to peaceful mode after something like
yeah,
that.
it was fun, but we enjoyed the excitement of it, but then we were like, okay, it's actually really frustrating that everything we build is getting destroyed. So we wanted to just focus on building.
Yeah, I get that. Is the building like robust? What is the building like in that game?
The building is very janky, to be honest, as the mechanics of it are not well made. So you have to kind of like mess with it a little bit to get like, like you'll build stairs and they'll be crooked, for example. Roofs are really hard to get right. But eventually you kind of start to understand its weird quirks and you'll be able to like build a house. We have a rooftop deck, which is pretty cool, and it has a fireplace.
Ooh.
You can also use the bones and remains of your enemies as furniture. So we have bone chairs and stuff like that. And bone chandelier is pretty cool.
That actually sounds pretty cool.
It's actually quite luxurious because we're using cheats at this point. So we're like living the life
Wow.
without cannibals.
No cannibals.
Nice.
Wow, I have to play that game. It's amazing.
It's really fun. It's super fun.
Yeah. I've just been playing Persona 5 Strikers. I took my time with it, really enjoying the aura of the game because it brings me back to Persona 5. So I'm on the second dungeon, and then I stopped and I was reading a book, was watching some TV, and I just haven't gone back to it. And at the same time, I'm playing Teamfight Tactics ranked and League of Legends also ranked, and trying to get back to gold this season.
Oh, that is deeply relatable. I'm also trying to get back to gold. Not in League, but in Valorant. I have hit gold in the past couple of acts. This act, it stubbornly eludes me, so I'm going to get back up there. Which I'm curious about Persona 5 Strikers, and just kind of, if I understand correctly, you like zoned out to it a bit. What is the vibe of that game? Like, in what kinds of sittings are you playing that game? Like, for lack of a better way of phrasing this, like, what role does it play for you?
Yeah, well, I tweeted about this, but I really liked how they threw in so many different tech buzzwords. Like AI is a huge part of the game. There was also cryptocurrency. They have AI buy you cryptocurrency at some point, buy you gold using cryptocurrency, and then you're like, no, this is illegal. Send it back. This is the dark web is part of the game. So I liked the newness of including those keywords, but at the same time, the game is just the same. For now, it's almost the same as Persona 5, but just a new plot, and also some new characters and new maps. So I just really like how it brings me back to Persona 5 because I love that game so much. So I'm just really comfortable. Like, you get to make curry again, get to drink coffee. You have that annoying cat that I don't. But no offense to cats, but that there.
Huh.
No, yeah, that cat is annoying.
Yeah. And then, but then at the same time, it's like a hack and slash. So instead of it being turn-based, you can slash up all your enemies, and I really enjoy that because it's actually easier than a lot of combat games I've been playing. It's easier than Hades, in my opinion. So I'm like, oh, I'm actually getting better at gaming. I can make it through these levels, and I'm not dying. So
I feel like I've been playing Persona 5 my whole life. or like for decades. I don't know. No, I'm kidding. Obviously not, because it came out like 5 years ago. But that game is so long. And I keep thinking that I'm finished, and I'm not. And I must have like at most 10 hours left. And I'm just trying to get across the finish line before I pick up Persona 5 Strikers. Because I really want to play it, and I love the cast. So I love the idea of like going on a road trip with them. Yeah,
I think in Persona 5, it's teased that they go on a road trip and then they get interrupted. And so it's like infuriating. You're like, oh, come on, go on a vacation. So finally in Persona 5 Strikers, you get to go on the vacation. But at the same time, it's still the same battle and you're stuck in a plot. And but I would say like take your time with it. Don't burn yourself out. I played that game in 3 days straight and I was still working.
Wait, What?
I was
Persona 5?
Yeah, Persona 5. So I would stay up till
What?
4 playing the game because it was so
No, come
addicting to
on.
me.
How
that-
did you do
Oh,
that?
wow.
How? That's like 100 or more hours.
I think it was 3 days. Maybe it was 4 days. But I played in the morning,
Oh god.
in the evenings, up until like early morning.
Shannon, that's crazy. That's incredible, but also insane.
Wow.
I'm very impressed.
I thought other people would have done the same. I don't know. It really struck me because especially when you get toward the end, the plot is just goes bonkers, and you're like, what? This is about God? I don't know. Okay, I'm not gonna spoil anything.
All right.
I'm intrigued.
Yeah, I have kept myself out of the Persona world because every time I see stuff about Persona or think about Persona, it looks like way too complicated. It's just like I know if I dip a toe in, like I will just fall into the pool. So there's I've been avoiding it.
It is very all-consuming, I would say. Like
Yeah.
I get addicted whenever I pick it up again.
Yeah. Got it. Well, I will check in next week probably to see how your Persona 5 Strikers progress is going.
Feels like I have homework. Okay.
No. Okay, I
Don't
won't
take it that way.
check in next week. I won't check in next week to see how your Persona 5 Strikers experience is going.
Okay, I'll let you know if I've made any progress. But if you don't
Okay.
hear anything from me,
Shannon,
then
you have to write an article on that tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
oh, Gene already wrote one.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you're fine. But
G-Body in the chat says solidarity with Shannon, also stayed up late to finish Persona 5 Royal. So
right on.
Yes, I thought I wasn't alone. That's why
yeah,
I was a
you
little
are not alone. You are not alone.
But MIKHAIL, your weekly check-in reminder did raise a good point, though, which is that we're going to be doing this every week. There will be a weekly check-in, but it's just not on Persona 5 Strikers Progress.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, every Thursday at around this time, 4:30ish, without any tech interruptions, tech difficulties, we'll be starting on time. Yeah, so good reminder. Yeah, we'll be here next week and the week after that is the hope. So
Yeah. So and if you subscribe, you can get some notifications on your phone whenever we go live. So yeah, definitely take a few seconds to subscribe if you like what we're hearing, what you're hearing. I like what I'm hearing, but I'm biased. So anyway, we'll see.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, and we have a lot of cool videos coming too. I'm gonna plug it for John, who's
The ghost of John.
There's a lot of cool videos coming up, and so you can check those out too. They will be with our articles and in addition to our live stream.
Great. Well, does anyone else have any closing thoughts or notes or remarks? If so, or if not, I will get into the outro notes.
I think you're clear to proceed.
All right, awesome. So first things first, don't forget to like and subscribe. It's essential. You can read all of our work at launcher.gg. And let's go with outros. Elise, where can people find you on social?
That would be at Elise, ELISE, FAVIS, FAVIS. Yeah,
Cool.
That's where you can find me, my Twitter.
Awesome. Mike, where can people find you?
Same. I'm usually on Twitter at MIKHAIL Post. Recently, I've been tweeting a lot about my NCAA busted bracket, so you'll have to bear with me there. Get some hockey too, but yeah, we'll be talking about Launcher and talking games too.
When you said same, I thought for a second you meant you were also at elise.favis.
Yeah, actually, I cloned the Twitter
not
account.
Sure about that.
I meant Twitter, MIKHAIL. Come on.
I understood. Shannon, where can people find you?
Yeah, I'm gonna give the same answer as everyone. You can find me.
Also at Elise FAVIS.
No.
I represent all of Launcher.
It's Shannon _ Liao, I think somebody else took my original name, but they never used Twitter. So I'm like, maybe they can give it to me one day, but
someday. Cool. And you can find me at Leader Grev. I have the least professional name of the bunch. That's Leader, like a person who leads, and then GREV. And you can find Launcher's work all of our tweets, all of our articles at Launcher WP. It's WP like Washington Post. Be sure to like and subscribe, and thanks so much for watching. Have a safe launch. We're gonna outro on that. Is that corny?
Yes.
Have a
100%,
safe
but
launch.
it's fine.
I
All
like
right.
what people in the chat were saying, like hanging out on the launch pad.
Yeah.
So
Stay hanging out on the launch pad, launch crew.
We'll work on it. We'll work on it.
We'll workshop it.
All right. Bye.